Hi, welcome to FCPS All-Stars. We have with us today Amy Entwistle, physical education teacher from Catoctin High School. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you. Now let's jump right into things.
All right.
I understand that your family is pretty competitive, even as it relates to occupation.
Yeah, we are a very competitive family.
Will you share with our crowd about that?
Sure. Well, we're pretty much all FCPS employees.
All of them?
Pretty much. My mom is an executive secretary for the director of maintenance and operations.
Okay.
With FCPS. My dad is retired, but he taught 38 years, majority of that in Montgomery County, but finished up at Tuscarora High School, teaching government history classes. He coached at Tuscarora, and he still does.
Okay.
JV basketball, and his tennis team just won regionals.
Yay!
So really excited for him and for them. My sister is a kindergarten teacher at Whittier. My brother-in-law is an instructional assistant at Heather Ridge, and he's currently doing his student teaching. He's going to wrap up here in a week and hopes to get employed by FCPS as an elementary school teacher in the fall.
Okay.
And then last but certainly not least, my amazing husband is also a health and PE teacher at Thurmont Middle and coaches at Catoctin JV Boys Lacrosse. So we keep it in the family.
It sounds like it. What's your husband's name, Amy?
Jeff Entwistle.
Okay, and did you all meet in college?
We did not. We actually met after college. He's also a local boy. I graduated from TJ. He graduated from Linganore, so two rival schools, but that wasn't a deal breaker.
Okay.
But after college, he worked at a gym in Frederick, which is a gym that I attended, worked out at. And he asked me out. I had just finished a workout on an elliptical, you know, drenched in sweat, smelly, no makeup on, baggy clothes, and he still managed to ask me out. So I thought that was a pretty good sign of his character.
Yeah.
It was a wonderful, wonderful thing. And almost 10 years later, we have two wonderful kids, and so I'm thankful he asked me out despite me looking like that.
Well, you know what? You must have had that after workout glow.
I guess I did.
And you know, it comes from the inside.
That's right. Absolutely.
What are your children's names and ages?
Braden is our oldest. He'll be 4 June 6th. And then we have a 17-month-old Bryce. So we have 2 little boys, very active. They love to play sports. So we're a very active family, and they are just 2 of the biggest blessings in my life. I love being a mom.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Amy, when did you find out or figure out that you wanted to be a teacher?
Pretty early on, believe it or not. My dad, like I said, was a history teacher, social studies teacher, and I just remember, you know, every evening our family dinners gather around the table and listening to him talk about how much he loved his job and his students, and he had so much passion and enthusiasm for it. And I thought, man, what a cool job he must have.
Yeah.
And then as I got a little older, I went to summer orientation with him. He would do orientation for the incoming 6th graders, and I'd go with him. We'd go to Take Your Child to Work Day. He was also a coach back then as well as currently, and so I pretty much grew up in a gym at his practices. So I just saw the impact that he had on his students and his players. And to this day, I mean, if we're out in public as a family, it never fails. A former student, you know, comes up to him and genuinely seems excited to see him. So I thought, man, what an incredible job he has, and the responsibility of making a great impact. And then I knew I wanted to be a PE teacher thanks to my elementary school teacher at Monocacy Elementary, Diane Zavatakis. We called her Miss Zabby.
Miss Zabby,
yeah, Zavatakis was hard for elementary school teachers to say.
That's hard for me as an adult.
Phenomenal lady. Still keep in touch with her. But just another very energetic, passionate teacher. She made exercising and working out fun, and I think more importantly, she made a great connection with her students and really built relationships. So thanks to her, I thought, you know what, I know I want to be a teacher, but I think I now want to be a PE teacher.
That's great. Now, what do you think is the very best thing about being a teacher? I know you've heard about what your dad has said, and you basically had a lifelong internship before you even went to college. What do you think is the best thing about being a teacher? Hands
down, it's the relationships that you get to build with your students. I think our student body at Catoctin is unbelievable. They inspire me every day. They're extremely talented, extremely gifted, compassionate, kids of character, and a lot of them haven't had the easiest life and have have overcome many obstacles and challenges, and just listening to their stories, and they're still standing and they're still, excelling in the classroom is just unbelievable. So thankful and appreciative that I get to work and teach and coach at Catoctin, and our students are awesome. So it's definitely the relationships that we get to build with them.
Let's go back to a time in your life, right out of college, where you and a few of your friends did your own version of Thelma and Louise, or maybe I should say Thelma, Louise, and Gertrude, because there were 3 of you.
There were 3 of us. I highly recommend this. After we graduated college, we took about a month and we traveled cross country together. It was myself and 2 of my best friends. And I know my parents were worried, but they trusted us, and they wanted us to have a great experience before we got so-called real jobs and went into the workforce. So we traveled cross country, camped a lot because we were on a very limited budget, being 3 college graduates.
That makes sense.
So did a lot of camping, visited national parks like Yellowstone, Yosemite, the Grand Canyon, and had a wonderful time. But our craziest experience, and we did learn a lot of life lessons on that trip, happened in Vegas. And the saying, "What happens in Vegas stays in Vegas," literally applied to us.
Okay.
Not in a good way. So we parked our car in the parking garage of our hotel that night. We were there for a night. Spent the night, woke up the next morning, went out to get our car, and it was gone. So here we are on a cross-country trip, 3 females, 22 years of age, and no car. It had gotten stolen.
Wow.
And all of our families joked. They thought we misplaced the car, or maybe it was in another end of the parking garage. No, it was stolen. And so, after a few hours of panic, we were able to come up with a plan. My friend's parents were gracious enough to get us a rental car. We finished our trip, and instead of driving from Denver home like we had planned, we then flew home. But we can laugh about that now. It was not funny at the moment, and I'm sure our parents were very scared too.
I'm sure.
But we can laugh about that now, and it did not ruin our trip. We still had a great trip.
So let me ask you this, because they always want proof. Did they ever find the car?
They did. So we finished our trip in June, and in September, it was my friend's car. She got a call that they had found it in another parking garage, completely, stripped of all the major parts, and all of the stuff that was in the car was no longer in the car. So we did have proof. Our family couldn't say that we, accidentally misplaced it. We did have proof, but like I said, we can laugh about it now.
There's a little irony in that your car was stripped on the strip, but that's a whole nother joke. So what was the best part about the trip?
Spending time with my two of my best friends. Just Sarah and Michelle. It was just an incredible experience, being in a car for many, many hours together and just getting to share those experiences. And like I said, we learned a lot of life lessons along the way, and being prepared was definitely one of them. But thankful for that experience before then, the job came. But the second best thing was getting a phone call. We were in San Francisco, and I got a phone call from FCPS saying that they wanted to hire me.
Yay!
And so I will always remember San Francisco. That's where I got my phone call that I was going to get to teach in the county that I grew up in and got my education in, and just an incredible blessing. So I will always remember that as well.
That's great, and I'm so glad that your trip ended a lot better than Thelma and Louise's.
Yes, I'm thankful for that too.
As a teacher and a coach of a girls' basketball team, you really have the ability to influence a lot of young lives. If you could create your own PSA, or personal service announcement,
Absolutely.
What would you say to young girls today?
I think that the 2 biggest things that come to mind, the first one being the importance of loving yourself. I think our society as a whole, especially with social media, the movies, television out there, sometimes they portray a very negative image and get the wrong message to our youth, specifically girls.
Yes.
When it comes to body image and what we're supposed to look like, how we're supposed to act, those kind of things. So just the importance of loving yourself. Everyone here is for a purpose. Everyone is here for a reason.
Right.
We were all created for a purpose. Everybody is special, no matter what we look like, no matter what we sound like. And you really need to embrace how special you are and what your talents and your abilities are. So that would be number 1. You have to love yourself. And the second thing is life can be tough sometimes. Life is going to knock you down, time in, time out. It's going to happen. But you will never fail in life as long as you continue to stand back up. And one of my favorite sayings is your attitude is going to determine your altitude. You know, work ethic and keeping a positive attitude are going to get you through some pretty rough situations. Those are the two biggest things, loving yourself and then maintaining that positive attitude.
Absolutely. And what you said about falling down and standing back up again, I believe that's so true. And there's a Japanese proverb that says, fall down 7 times, stand up 8. And it sounds like a lot of the young people you work with have either learned that from you or they brought it to the table.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like it's a really key trait that students have in your school.
They really, really do. Like I said, they're an extremely special group of young people, and I'm just honored that I get to teach and coach there, and I don't take that for granted. I've learned so much from them. And like I said, a lot of them have overcome obstacles and challenges and have taught me a lot about life. So hopefully in return, I've done the same.
Well, they're lucky to have you too.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
And thank you so much for joining us today on FCPS All-Stars.
Thank you, it was so nice to meet you. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. And thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you next week. And don't forget, shine on.